Namaste. Hi, welcome to the Shaman and the Mermaid. We're excited to be here. We're doing the new moon report. This is the Aquarius New Moon on Thursday, February 11th, and we're going all the way through the 27th of February. We got a lot going on with Aquarius Energy. What do you want to say about Aquarius?
Well, you said we're excited to be here, and I kind of chuckled because excitement is a really good word for all the Aquarian energy. It's like a lot of electricity, excitement, buzz, and then sometimes that can, on the shadow side of it, can look like anxiety or anxious or nervous, or your nerve endings just frayed or even afraid. So hopefully you're feeling the excitement of all of this cosmology that's happening and not the other end of it. But it's definitely affecting the nervous system for sure. And there's some key players in that. And I think before we go into the whole unpacking, there's two big players, and there's lots of players in this, but two big players whose energy I think is kind of important to break down. And the first one is not a planet, but the sign Aquarius. And we're going to be talking about Aquarius over and over and over again because so many planets, more than what we're even going to mention, some dwarf planets, are in this sign of Aquarius. So I think if you have an understanding of Aquarian energy in general, that'll help kind of your own understanding of what's happening right now. And then the other one that I want to mention is Mercury. Mercury is still retrograde. It's going to go direct during this report, but it's having a lot of effect with all the planets that are in Aquarius, including its own self. So I want to break down a little bit about Mercury, just as a reminder of the energies that come with these signs and planets. So the first one is Aquarius. And what would you say about Aquarius energy?
Aquarius is the 11th sign of the archetypal zodiac. Aries is the first, that's springtime, it's the little seed, it's the baby, it's birth, it's new beginnings. And Aquarius is almost all the way back around, heading right back towards Aries again. So Aquarius is considered a symbol of wisdom. It's when we've gone past the phase in life of having to prove ourselves and having to stand up and show and earn things and gather things together. It's like when you become a grandparent and you're in that wisdom elder phase, and you don't have to prove yourself. What you have to give is wisdom, and you don't need to go around proving it. And so Aquarius, in its best possible way, is that wise elder or wise gift back from the human being after having lived a life worth living. The shadow side of Aquarius is really taking that energy and thinking you're a know-it-all and trying to control things and trying to manipulate and trying to use it for your own gain and becoming sort of detached, not having emotional intelligence around it, and you try to make everything computer and mechanical and robotic and 1%, and we can do everything with robots and drones, and who cares about the people, and we can make markets go up and down. That's the two sides of Aquarius that I see.
Exactly. So as I said, Aquarius is a big player, and that's because we have the sun and the moon there on this new moon day. That's always, remember, a new moon means the sun and the moon aren't together. And in the last report, we had Aquarius moving into, or sun moving into Aquarius. So now the moon saddled up next to the sun. We also have Mercury, which is retrograde, I mentioned. We have Venus, we have Jupiter, we have Saturn, all in the sign of Aquarius, and there's some other, like I said, little dwarf planets as well that are significant, but will bog down the report if we go into all of that. So just know that it's a packed house at Aquarius. They're not social distancing. They are definitely breaking all the COVID rules on that one. So Aquarian energy, as Michael said, is you've reached a wisdom state, and that Krona status, or the grandmother, grandfather, the elder, there's a lot of revelation, like aha, epiphany, a high awareness, a crystalline consciousness. Crystals are very Aquarian in a sense because they hold so much deep knowledge. Technology is really, crystal technology, or nanotechnology is crystals. It's all around this bigger wisdom body. So when you think of Aquarian energy, you might think of people like Einstein and Nikola Tesla and Thomas Edison and Madame Curie, the ones who are really willing to put themselves out there and think outside the box. Aquarian energy is big outside the box thinkers. So with all this packed house in there, we've come up with a theme, which I guess I'll reveal now, even though I also want to say a little bit more about Mercury before we go on down the rest of the report. But our theme is life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all, from the famous line from Helen Keller. And that's actually pulled out of a deeper passage that I'll share with you at the end of this report. That's about, there's nothing secure in this world. There's nothing in nature that is absolutely secure or safe. Everything is a daring adventure or nothing at all. And she reveals that in a very poetic way in a passage that she wrote called Let Us Keep Faith. And I'll share that with you, as I said, at the end. But we feel like this is a really great theme to borrow from her at this time, because this is we're on a precipice of new beginnings for ourselves. There's no looking back anymore. Everything is forward, including all the planets on the forward side of the nodes of fate. And we will not go into that too much, but everything is forward moving. Everything is looking to the future. Everything, Aquarian energy is very futuristic, and it's packed with, as I said, innovation. But this is also the era of technology going to the next level, which is hard for me to even fathom. What's the next level of technology, as one who can remember when there were no cell phones at one point in existence? And to think that there's even more coming our way. We haven't even scratched the surface of what it is. So life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. And I feel like part of the old ways of doing things has been to be status quo, to be inside the box, to play safe, to keep things secure, to get that, the 401k all secured, your little stocks and your portfolio all taken care of, putting money in the bank constantly, giving the banker man some of your stuff. And to me, the forward motion of the future is to dare to be yourself, your authentic, revolutionary self, and go for the things that are in your heart of hearts, not what's necessarily status quo. Nothing in this world is secure. Whether you're bold and daring or you play it safe and secure, same bad things can happen to both sides. So you may as well just take a chance and go for it, is part of what I think this Aquarian New Moon is saying. Like, throw caution to the wind. There's an element of, we want to be safe and not stupid, but throw the cautions that we have learned and that are ingrained in us that aren't safe, and maybe question, is it really that daring to step outside of this thinking, or to cross that line, or to do something a little bit more bold than what I've been telling myself I'm allowed? This is where we're at. So now I'll go back to Mercury, because I said I wanted to describe Mercury a little bit more. Most of us know about Mercury because Mercury goes retrograde 3 to 4 times a year. So you hear often Mercury's retrograde, and people may not know what that means, but it's almost like a t-shirt saying Mercury's retrograde, or it should be if it isn't, but I'm sure it is, because it's commonplace for our language anymore. And what does it mean for Mercury retrograde? We kind of talked about it in the last report. Planet has slowed its orbital speed. It's taking that slow track around the curve, so to speak. And so everything seems to be like in reverse warp time, like a little bit more slowed down. And we use that slower energetic force to reevaluate, recalibrate, rewind, review, reflect. Any RE words are great for retrogrades, any of the retrogrades. And then Mercury itself is communication, it's expression, it's technology, it's transportation. You've probably experienced some sort of a bugaboo in the area of those three: transportation, technology, communication. Maybe the computer shut down in the middle of an important email and you had to wait for it to boot up, something as simple as that. Or the car battery didn't start on a cold morning, or a flat tire. You get the point. But that's all part of that Mercury retrograde, telling us to kind of slow down and take a look at things. So Mercury and Aquarius are both strong players in this report. So now we can begin to unpack it. What do you have on the very first day? New moon itself.
It's a new cycle, and Aquarius is also about starting new things, new adventures. Another way to put it, if new is not your word, it's about change. And things will be changing. That can be considered as positive if you're ready to change things and you're getting involved with it, or if you're resistant, as Katrina said, and you're trying to hold control or status quo, it can be anxious or fear-ridden or seemingly fraught, because whether you want to or not, it's going to change. And that same day of the Aquarius New Moon, when there are 6 traditional planets there, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Venus will conjoin the planet Jupiter. And this is a start of another cycle. It's like a Venus-Jupiter new moon along with the new moon. And what do you want to say about this one? This was on your radar.
Yeah, Venus, she's my girl. I like Venus energy. She's about love and values, and to me, integrity. So when she's saddled up, conjoin means you're right next to, I think they're 12 degrees Aquarius together in the, from our vantage point from Earth, looking up, it looks like they're touching. And Jupiter is the guru, the wise teacher, the expansive ability for ourselves to grow. And so you take love and values and let it grow big. I'm really excited about all the potential there. Talk about outside the box. Like, this could just blow the top off the box with self-love. Like, get big on that right now. Taking radical care of yourself and maybe putting up some huge boundaries with others about, no, this is how it's going to be for me going forward. That would be a huge Venus-Jupiter conjunct energy in Aquarius, like being really revolutionary and how you're coming up with some ideas. Like, be inventive. What is radical self-care? Radical self-care, Venus-Jupiter. That's what I think it is.
Boom. The next day after the new moon, it's that Mercury energy that Katrina was talking about. Mercury is retrograding back and conjoining with Venus again, the self-love piece. So this is all happening in Aquarius. So there could be a change in the way that you're talking to yourself in your inner world, what you're speaking, what you're thinking, what you're knowing about yourself. And it can be a change or a shift or a new revolution in understanding the personal self.
Communication with the self. And I feel like throwing in the word honesty in that, that's a big piece. When we are really having radical self-care, we've got to be honest with ourselves about what's going on. And that Aquarian energy is very, as I said, crystal consciousness, and things are crystal clear. If you allow for yourself to really take a look at what is going on internally with that Mercury and Venus conjunction, things will be really crystal clear about the self and about your values. Remember, it's not just self-love, it's values, it's a sense of your connection to home and earth, and body, your body too. It's Venus is definitely the body. So crystal clear about where you want to go, what you want to do. And then I'm throwing the theme again. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. Let yourself be radical with that self-truth as well.
Then on Sunday, February 14th, similar theme, Mercury, going backwards, conjoins Jupiter. So Venus was just there. Mercury said hi to Venus, and now Mercury and Jupiter are getting together. And probably a similar theme with the Venus-Jupiter conjunction and communication about going deep in and understanding what's going on. The piece I wanted to add about Aquarius, and then give it to Katrina, is that it's also the sign of your personal unconscious or superconscious. Mm-hmm. If you're like, that sounds cool, but what is that really? What do you mean by that, Mr. Astrologer person? It's the part of yourself that's beyond your ego personality. The psychologist like Carl Jung uses the iceberg analogy. When there's the water line, there's the iceberg above it, which is 5%, and then, whoa, below the water line, 95% is the iceberg. And that's the rest of you. That's your soul, that's your potential, that's your past lives, that's the gifts and things that you haven't tapped into yet. And so this crystal clear Aquarius energy with Mercury, who's the communicator or the psychopomp who can go into that underwater realm and come back with information, this is an opportunity to take a vision quest into the self, dive in and pull back part of the soul into the ego self. That's what we call getting woked. Too much?
No, I love it. Getting woke. That'll be another t-shirt with Mercury retrograde and then getting woked on the back. So, want to point out that on the new moon day, which was February 11th, is Venus conjunct Jupiter in addition to all the other things with the other planets in Aquarius. Then the next day, we talked about it, Mercury conjunct Venus, and then 2 days later, on February 14th, which is also Valentine's Day, is Mercury conjunct Jupiter. So basically, these three are all smushed together, and they're feeding each other, seeding off each other energies, and then February 14th, boom, here's this gift, if you will, a Valentine of a really, in right way, it could look like sacred, what he's talking about, the unconscious self coming to the surface in that big Jupiter kind of way, outside the box, connecting to who you are, having radical self-love and acceptance of self, self-respect, all the things. That's all Venus, Mercury, and Jupiter hanging together and working together to arrive and fully deliver it on Valentine's Day. So I know Valentine's Day can be a really challenging day for a lot of people that aren't in relationship. It's a big mirror saying, where's your relationship? Well, your big relationship, your biggest, most important relationship to have a love affair with is your own self, and this is all coming together for that. Two people are not going to be successful in a relationship if one of the two does not have radical self-love. Both people have to have radical self-love. So this is an opportunity for all of us to really deepen that loving relationship with ourselves. That big Jupiter energy is allowing for it. Mercury retrograde, allowing for the reflection and the review, and Venus moving through it all, just saying, hey, let me help out with the values around who you are. See yourself as who you are, which is highly valuable. That's a piece, I think, that is in the old ways, is comparing ourselves and being competitive and striving for perfection, as opposed to being our most authentic self. We're trying to be other people's perfect instead of trying to be our own authentic, beautiful self and seeing the value in who we are. And instead we compare often to others. And this is crumbling. That's crumbling. That's dying away. That's on the other side of the old ways. And so this time of all of this big Venus, Jupiter energy, Mercury energy is saying, no, you're enough. You're worthy, you're valuable, and go stand in that. And life is either a daring adventure with your own radical, beautiful self, or nothing at all. Otherwise, we're just in this box, and it's time to break out. So excitement and all that Mercury buzz again, and let it just flow through you on Valentine's Day, whether you're having a little toast to self and taking a hot bubble bath and appreciating who you are, or if you're sharing it with another. It's about really appreciating that deeper part, the underneath iceberg of who you are.
So then we have a big one on Wednesday, February 17th, probably the biggest one of the year, and this is Saturn square Uranus. And why is Katrina making that sound? Well, this is what astrologers have been pointing to as the biggest energy of the whole year. If there's one energy to keep a track of, it's this one. And this doesn't happen very often. And this year, 2021, Saturn will square Uranus 3 times. That was 2 fingers, 3 times. It'll be in February 17th, this case in June, and then in December. And this is the energy of Aquarius squaring the energy of Taurus. And all year long, it's going to be these 2 energies coming into dynamic square.
A dynamic duo.
Dynamic.
Yeah, if you watched our 2021 forecast, this was the thing we highlighted big time, as these squares of Saturn and Uranus, as Michael said. And here's the first one, right after, that whole nice little Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury flowing together, working to help us get outside the box, helping us to have our daring adventure, and then boom. So what is Uranus? Well, first of all, Uranus, I always refer to as our uncle, wild Uncle Uranus, crazy Uncle Uranus, because he comes out of nowhere, doing some crazy trick at the party, and you're like, oh my God. And sometimes it's like, woo woo, go Uncle Uranus. And sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, you didn't. And this is a potential for that to go either way as well. And then Saturn's like the opposite of that. Saturn's always holding steady. Saturn is justice and order, and let's get everything in that ass perfect order and not let anything get out of bounds. No out of bounds ever with Saturn. It's always in compliance, and you always do what is told, and you're not questioning authority in any kind of radical revolutionary way. And Uranus is like, oh yes you do. You do it all the time, and you never stop, and you're constantly questioning authority, and you're constantly radical and thinking outside the box. So these 2 totally different ways of approaching anything are coming together, and we're hoping it's a dovetail, as we sometimes point out, but it could be something really I would imagine a little more combustible than the dovetail that we are hoping for, because this is a radical time. And it's like the wrecking ball coming in and taking down the bricks, and you just watch them crumble. And there's a strong old system that we've been living in for the last 2,000 years. We're going to need radical wrecking balls to take this down. And so I would be very aware on February 17th. And remember, Saturn is in Aquarius. Uranus is in Taurus, the earth sign of the bull. So he's got that charging power behind him. But Uranus's home sign is Aquarius. And Saturn is standing in his home turf going, you obey, you settle down. And Uranus is like, not having that. And you're in my house telling me what to do. I'm coming at you like a bull. So I have a feeling there could be some stuff breaking up in the old ways, particularly because Saturn represents kind of the old structures, the old paradigm, that patriarchal kind of energy. We'll see some shift. And Uranus has got that earth bull energy, the mother earth energy coming with it. So you'll see a lot of this mother earth energy behind it, amping it up.
I would say about that one, there's lots of possibilities, and with these energies, this is the start of that seed energy. And so if you're saying it's going to happen exactly on February 17th, let's watch and read the media and the news, the event may be unknown to us, but in hindsight we'll look back and say whatever happened at that time reverberated throughout the rest of the year. But Mother Earth is Taurus, and it's farming, and it's food, and it's medicines, and it's big pharma, and it's banking markets, and it's resources, and trees, and forests, and materials, and crops, and it's all the things that we need as human beings to live. We can't replace trees and crops with computers. You can do a lot of things with computers, but you have to have Mother Earth to survive, the elements of life. And Saturn is the old patriarchy way of raping and taking and gathering everything from Mother Earth without concern of the effects. And this could be, we've done this too long from Mother Earth, and Mother Earth is sick, and we can't pretend that everything is fine anymore. This is tidal waves lifting, this is tectonic plates shifting, this is the environment coming back, not to harm us, but to say it's way out of balance.
Right. Saturn, remember, all the energies have a shadow and a light, and we've just painted Saturn to be like this mean principle or something, and yes, it has a sternness or a severity to it and a strictness, but it's very much wanting justice. It wants things to be fair and equal and right. Remember, it's also karma, that Saturn represents the spine in your back, and the spine in your back represents the karmas that you hold. And we want to have a strong backbone. We want to be able to stand in our power. We want to have our karmas that are negative and holding us back cleared, and we want good karmas on either side of us walking us down the path. So it can be a time to kind of clean up some of our old, stern, staunch, stuck ways and shift our value system, that Venus energy, into a little more of a daring, adventurous, but still fair and judicial way. There's got to be a way that we can all live together in harmony, and as many of us as there are on this beautiful planet, without it having the strictness and the conformity that we are being kind of pushed into. And I think what this radical shift could be saying is, no, there's another way than this dominating, controlling, forceful way that it's been. We can have justice and fairness without it being controlling and dominating. So think outside the box for your own self on ways that this can look, and look for where it is feeling like it's encroaching on your personal freedom. A big thing about Aquarian energy is freedom, it's liberation. And if you're not feeling like you are a free being, a sovereign being, then something is encroaching on that. Whether it's your own thinking, the monkey mind telling you what to do, or outside forces from politics and parents and governments and religions, all the different ways that it can show up as a boss of you. Throw that boss of you thing out the door. No one's the boss of you, you're the boss of you. And that, to me, is going to be a big piece of that Saturn-Uranus dynamic duo head on February 17th.
And we'll get a chance to revisit this all year.
Like you said, June, and then
December.
again December.
The energy's, though, in the field for the whole year, even if it's not exact. Then on February 18th, Sun, new astrological month, goes into Pisces, the last month of the astrological year before spring starts. Katrina's birthday month, she's a Pisces. And so it's the last sign. After Aquarius, it goes into Pisces. So after being the wisdom elder in Aquarius, it goes into even being farther than that, emerging back into the spirit world completely.
I look forward to that one always. I like March in general, not just because it's my birthday month, but it kicks off February 18th, but it goes all the way to my actual birthday is the last day, typically, of Piscean energy. But I love, as we move into spring, I love seeing the little green things coming up. And so Sun moving into Pisces to me is a symbolic turn of the wheel that says, and now we start to move towards spring. And that's happiness. So then after that we have Venus squaring Mars. That's another two. That one just says itself, pretty much on February 19th. It's also the half moon in Gemini, which I think is funny. That Gemini has a little bit of that, should I do this or should I do that? It's the twins, and there's one that wants to think this way and one is like, or maybe this way would be better. And so you're constantly in this tug of war of what to do. And Gemini energy is already very frenetic and electric. It's a lot like the Aquarian. Aquarian energy is like 3 octaves higher of Gemini energy. So this Gemini half moon, and then half is like, should I go this way and be light or should I go this way and be dark? So there could be a lot of indecision, inability to make decisions February 19th. And that's the same day Venus squares Mars. What do you have on that one?
It's a lot of the similar theme of Saturn square Uranus because Venus is in Aquarius, Mars is in Taurus. Saturn is in Aquarius, Uranus is in Taurus. The whole year we're going to say something in Aquarius is squaring something in Taurus.
Right.
So you pretty much got the theme. Venus in Aquarius is about this revolution, new ideas, new things, and Mars in Taurus is about Earth and the body and self-love. This is kind of a reversal thing. Mars is in Venus's home. And so Venus is like, you listen up.
You're in my house. Yeah, Mars can be a little stubborn and want to kind of just keep things the way they are. Even though it's the initiate, it's the one who kicks things off and is the fire starter and is taking charge, first one out on the battlefield. When it's in Taurus, it can get a little stubborn about things like my way or the highway. My way is always the right way. And Venus in Aquarius is like, let's think outside the box, dear. And this is also masculine and feminine energy coming together, and not necessarily man and woman coming into a argument, but within your own self, like your dominant, forceful, masculine energy may be squaring off with your nurturing, intuitive, creative energy and saying, like, which part of me is what? And then that half moon in Gemini going, I don't know. Maybe it's just a day to take a bath. Soak in some water. I've got baths lined up throughout this report.
The
first
bath
day.
report.
Uh-huh.
Well, and then you can wait till Saturday, February 20th, because that's the day Mercury goes direct. And that's more clarity in the mind or more forward-moving action. And Mercury's in Aquarius. And you'll feel it pretty immediately. When Mercury goes forward, the field moves. However, Mercury has a shadow until middle of March, meaning it's going to go back over the territory it had reversed on. So while we're getting forward motion, we're kind of picking up the pieces or re-sewing together what we passed through.
And that crystal consciousness, again, that direct motion of Mercury in Aquarius, where we were mulling things over, reviewing, refining, reflecting, recalibrating. Now we're like, okay, I got it. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. And I've got crystal consciousness on that. I'm going to go straight forward and take charge and do the thing that you've been wanting to do. This is the time for the outside the box. So to me, on that day, Mercury going forward is a day to set things in motion, forward motion. Rearrange your room or
your business.
Or your business, which we got in store. And, submit the business plan you've been reviewing and thinking about. Get it going. Take charge. Forward motion on that day. And then our last little bit for the report is February 24th. And this is Mars trining Pluto.
I think this supports everything of the going forth and do it. After Mercury goes direct and there's clarity, crystal clarity, Mars is taking action and Pluto is soul power, it's passion, it's moving things and it's change. And the trine is harmonious. This is ostensibly the only positive outward aspect of the report. But this is getting soul power supporting your personal self. It says go forward, take action, move now, you got the support. And Mars and Pluto are both in earth signs. Mars is in Taurus and Pluto's in Capricorn. So it's like having the elder soul saying you got the green light, go forward. And Mars is like, I can take action, I can do things, I can run really fast, I can create, I can make.
but it's saying, yes, and for the soul self.
For the soul self.
Do something for the soul self, that part of the iceberg that we don't see that's under the water. You know, so much of Mars energy is spent getting that top ego part, like let's get our hair done and let's look good and let's have a new outfit and let's, you know, be cool. And this is saying work on something not so superficial. This harmonious trine is for something that needs some initiative that's more on the soul side of your being. And then we will come back on the full moon in Virgo, February 27th. That's a Saturday, a full moon on a Saturday. And we'll tell you a little bit more about what that means. In the meantime, life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. And I wanted to close by reading you the whole little bit from Helen Keller's, an excerpt from her piece that she wrote called Let Us Have Faith. She says, security is mostly a superstition. It does not exist in nature, nor do the children of men as a whole experience it. God himself is not secure, having given man dominion over his works. Avoiding danger is no safer in the long run than outright exposure. The fearful are caught as often as the bold. Faith alone defends. Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. To keep our faces towards change and behave like free spirits in the presence of fate is strength undefeatable. Keep the faith, people. Keep the faith.
Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you at the full moon.
Namaste.
Namaste.